The world looks like it's on fire, and that is exactly why the market is setting records. That sounds upside down, but stay with me. While most people are doom scrolling, a small group is quietly getting wealthier because they are not staring at the same clock as everyone else. They are not cheering good news or panicking at bad news. They are playing a different game entirely, a game where chaos can actually be fuel. If that makes your stomach drop, good, because your retirement, your first home, your dream timeline all live or die on understanding this one flip in thinking. I was baffled too. The headline screamed crisis, my screen showed green, something didn't add up, so I went looking for the missing piece. What I found isn't optimism. It isn't cynicism. It's colder and more reliable than both. The people doing it right use it every day and they barely talk about it. They let everyone else argue about vibes while they count compounding. You've been trained to react. They've been trained to discount. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly why. There's a lens that turns market chaos into a map. The people who win most often call it, quietly, the future discount. I'm not going to explain it yet. All you need to know for now is what it does. It lets you see past the smoke. With it, you stop arguing about today and start calculating tomorrow. With it, you can watch a bad headline and still buy, because you're not buying the headline. You're buying the stream of cash a great business will throw off years from now, viewed through a rate that moves like a dimmer switch. When that dimmer turns, entire markets look different in a heartbeat. This matters right now because the dimmer is twitching. Policy is shifting. Money is sloshing. The promise of new productivity is colliding with real-world mess. Every time that switch flicks, wealth moves from the people who react to the people who discount. Miss a single flick and years of progress can slip through your fingers. Catch it, and you ride a wave everyone else swears shouldn't exist. What would change for you if you could feel that switch before the crowd does? Think about that one quiet cousin at family dinners. The one who never argues, never brags, always shows up with the same calm smile. In the early 2000s, while everyone chased flashy picks, she set up automatic buys into broad ownership of real businesses. When the screen turned blood red later that decade, she didn't flinch. She wrote one sentence on a sticky note: discount the future, not the headline. During the lockdown years when life felt surreal, she did the strangest thing of all: nothing new. She just kept buying pieces of the future on sale. She didn't time the bottom. She didn't catch the exact top. She let the future discount do the heavy lifting. Now here's the outcome nobody saw coming. Her account didn't grow in a straight line. It lurched, stumbled, and then one day it looked like a staircase. The chaos that shredded everyone else's nerves quietly fed her returns. She wasn't lucky. She was using a tool the rest of us were taught to ignore. But how can something so simple beat fear, greed, and noise year after year? I started collecting clues. First stop, the newsroom. Headlines spun like a tornado, each one screaming this is the one that breaks it. Yet in the distance, the price mountain kept inching higher between storms. Second stop, the factory floor of corporate money. Picture robot arms moving piles of cash onto two conveyor belts, one labeled reinvest, the other labeled return to owners. When a company buys back its own shares, there are fewer slices of the pie for the same or growing cash, and each slice gets heavier. Third stop, the index kitchen. Imagine a giant stew where the biggest, most profitable companies pour the most flavor into the pot. If a handful of giants get better at minting future cash, the whole stew tastes like them, whether or not the smaller veggies are bitter. Final stop, the river of autopilot money. Paychecks, retirement plans, and global savings trickle relentlessly into the same channels month after month. That steady current doesn't care about last night's headline. Add all of this up, and you start to see why your screen can glow green when your feed is gray. But here's the part nobody talks about. The current and the kitchen don't decide the final taste. The dimmer switch does. I went into the archives. War posters on one wall, oil shocks on another, inflation charts curling at the edges, a masked city skyline boxed in a glass case. In each scene, leaders promised pain, and they were right. Life got harder before it got better. But the market kept doing the same weird thing. It sniffed out the moment when the future brightened by even a fraction. War spending built factories that later built prosperity. Energy crises forced efficiency that cut costs for decades. High inflation drew out policy shifts that eventually dragged the rate dimmer lower. The lockdowns detonated a wave of software and logistics upgrades that made the right businesses startlingly productive. Here, as the counterintuitive flip, sometimes bad news brings the moment when the future's cash looks bigger or the rate used to value it falls. When that happens, prices can surge even as headlines stay bleak. If you wait for your newsfeed to give you permission, you arrive late to a party that started quietly months ago. But if you watch the dimmer and the factory floor at the same time, you can feel the turn like a change in the wind. So what precisely is that future discount, and how do you use it without guessing? Here it is. The future discount is the market's core habit. It takes all the cash great businesses are likely to make over years and asks, what is that worth today after passing it through a rate that moves with inflation, policy, and fear? Lower the rate or raise the future cash, and today's value jumps. That's why prices can hit records while the world feels broken. The machine is looking past the smoke. To make this work for you, stop trading headlines and start managing the dimmer. Own engines that steadily turn work into cash. Notice when fear shoves the rate higher. Those are your moments to add, not to flee. Notice when productivity booms make durable profits fatter. Those are your moments to stay on the ride. Each month I open a notebook, glance at the cost of money, glance at the health of the cash machines I own, and ask one question. Has the dimmer moved enough to change my pace? No predictions, no heroics, just alignment with how the machine actually thinks. If this flipped a switch for you, hit subscribe. We turn messy headlines into simple, usable edges every week. Tap like so more people stop chasing smoke and start discounting the future. And if you want the next piece, don't miss the upcoming episode. The hidden moment when index math flips and the giants stop pulling the market up, the signal almost nobody watches. You'll recognize it the second you see it. Until then, keep your pace, watch the dimmer, and let tomorrow pay you for staying calm today.